The small transport ship moved slowly through the dark space between stars. Inside, Kim Dae pressed his face against the window and watched the stars shine like tiny lights. He was only 7 years old, but he was not afraid. His sister, Park, Sora, sat next to him, reading a book on her tablet. She was 9 and always acted like she knew everything. On the other side of the ship, 6-year-old Lee Chan was playing with toy spaceships, making quiet whooshing sounds. "Are we almost there?" Kim Dae asked. Commander Jin Woo looked up from his control panel. He was a big man with kind eyes and strong hands. He had been taking care of the 3 children since their parents sent them away from the research station. The station was in danger, and the parents wanted their children to be safe. "Not yet, little one," Jin Woo said with a smile. "We still have 2 more days to travel." The transport ship was old but safe. It had thick walls and good engines. Jin Woo had flown ships like this many times before. He used to be a soldier for Earth, but now he just wanted to keep the children safe. The research station where they lived was too close to the border. Strange alien ships had been seen nearby, and the scientists were worried. Park Sora closed her tablet and looked at Jin Woo. "Commander, why did our parents look so scared when we left?" Jin Woo thought carefully before he answered. Sora was smart, and she could tell when adults were lying. "There might be some trouble at the station. Your parents wanted you to be somewhere safe while they finish their work." "What kind of trouble?" Lee Chan asked. He had stopped playing with his toys and was listening. "Maybe just some broken machines," Jin Woo said. He did not want to scare them. The truth was that alien warships had been attacking human colonies. The research station was studying new technology, and some aliens did not want humans to have. Suddenly, red lights began flashing all over the control panel. A loud alarm started beeping. Jin Woo jumped up and ran to the main screen. His face went white when he saw what was there. A huge alien ship was coming toward them. It was 3 times bigger than their little transport. The ship was dark green, with sharp edges and strange symbols painted on its side. Jin Woo had seen ships like this before during the war. They belonged to the Valerian Empire. "Children, come here quickly," Jin Woo said. His voice was calm, but his hands were shaking. "We need to hide you." "What's happening?" Sora asked. She could see the fear in Jin Woo's eyes now. "Some bad aliens found us," Jin Woo said. He opened a secret panel in the floor. "I need you to get in here and be very quiet. No matter what happens, do not come out until I tell you." Kim Dae started to cry. "I'm scared, Commander." Jin Woo knelt down and put his hands on the boy's shoulders. "I know you're scared, but you are very brave, all of you. Your parents told me how brave you are. Can you be brave for me now?" The 3 children nodded. Sora helped the younger boys climb into the hiding space. It was dark and small, but they could still hear everything that happened outside. The alien ship grabbed their transport with a big metal claw. Jin Woo could hear the metal walls creaking and bending. He quickly pressed some buttons on his control panel, sending out a secret message that only human ships could understand. The message would tell other humans where they were and what had happened. Heavy footsteps walked across the roof of their ship. The aliens were boarding. Jin Woo heard the sound of metal being cut. They were making a hole to get inside. Green gas started coming through the air vents. Jin Woo held his breath, but the gas made him feel dizzy and weak. He fell to his knees, then onto the floor. The last thing he saw before everything went black was alien soldiers with long, sharp teeth and yellow eyes walking into his ship. When the aliens found the children in their hiding place, Kim Dae, Sora, and Lee Chan were holding hands. They were scared, but they remembered what Jin Woo had told them about being brave. The alien soldiers looked like giant lizards walking on 2 legs. Their skin was green and covered in scales. They had long claws and spoke in a language that sounded like hissing snakes. Captain Thexara was the leader of the alien ship. He was bigger than the other aliens, with red marks painted on his face. When he saw the human children, he made a sound that might have been laughing. "Look what we found," he said to his soldiers. "Small humans, perfect for our experiments." The alien doctor, Kethmore, looked at the children with his big yellow eyes. "Yes, these will be very useful. Human young are supposed to be weak and stupid. We can learn much from studying them." The aliens put Jin Woo and the children in metal cages. The cages were cold and had thick bars. They gave the humans some water and strange food that tasted like plastic. The children stayed close together and whispered to each other when the aliens were not watching. "What do they want with us?" Lee, Chan asked. Sora looked around the room carefully. She was studying everything: the doors, the control panels, the way the aliens moved. "I think they want to find out how humans work," she said quietly. Kim Dae was trying not to cry. "Will Commander Jin Woo wake up soon?" "I think so," Sora said. "And when he does, we need to be ready to help him." The children did not know that. Their capture would soon change everything in the galaxy. They did not know that taking human young was the biggest mistake the Valerian Empire had ever made. They just held each other and waited, being as brave as they could be. Meanwhile, Captain Thexara was very happy with his catch. He sent a message to his commanders telling them about the human specimens he had captured. He thought he had found some easy prisoners to study. He had no idea that he had just started a war that would shake the entire galaxy. The alien ship moved away into deep space, carrying its precious cargo toward the Valerian research facility. Behind them, Jin Woo's secret message traveled through space, reaching human communication networks. Soon, every human ship and station in the area would know what had happened. The hunt was about to begin. Admiral Yoon Hai was drinking her morning coffee when the emergency message came through. She was on the big space station called Harmony Point, where different alien races came to trade and talk about important things. The station was huge, with many levels and rooms where aliens from all over the galaxy could meet safely. Yoon Hai was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been in the Space Navy for 30 years and had seen many battles. Other aliens respected her because she was always honest and fair. She was at Harmony Point to talk about new trade agreements between humans and other species. When her communication device started flashing red, she knew something terrible had happened. She read the message 3 times to make sure she understood it correctly. Her hands began to shake and her coffee cup fell to the floor, breaking into pieces. The message was from Commander Jin Woo's ship. It said that Valerian aliens had captured him and 3 human children. The children were named Kim Dae, Park Sora, and Lee Chan. They were just small kids, far from home, and in great danger. Yoon Hai stood up so fast that her chair fell over. She pressed the emergency button on her desk. Within minutes, her assistant came running into the room. "Get me an emergency meeting with the Galactic Council," Yoon Hai said. Her voice was very calm, but her assistant could see the anger in her eyes. "Tell them it cannot wait. Tell them it is about human children." The assistant's face went pale. He had worked with humans for many years and knew what those words meant. "Right away, Admiral." 1 hour later, Yoon Hai walked into the Great Council chamber. The room was enormous, with seats for representatives from hundreds of different alien species. The ceiling was made of clear glass, and you could see the stars shining through it. Normally, the chamber was full of noise, as different aliens talked and argued. Today, it was very quiet. Ambassador Quintar from the Silicon Collective was there. He looked like a giant metal spider with glowing blue lights for eyes. Next to him sat Counselor Vex Thul from the Arachnid Hegemony. He was covered in black fur and had 8 legs. His species was known for being very smart and very careful. The leader of the council was an old alien called Morgeth. His people, the Zelians, were tall and thin with purple skin. They were some of the first aliens to make friends with humans. and they understood human behavior better than most other species. Admiral Yoon Hae, Morgeth said. You called for an emergency meeting. What has happened? Yoon Hae walked to the center of the chamber. When she spoke, her voice carried to every corner of the room. 3 hours ago, ships from the Valerian Empire attacked and captured a human transport vessel. On that ship were 3 human children, aged 6 to 9 years old. The reaction was immediate and shocking. Counselor Vexathul made a sound like screaming and fell backward off his seat. His 8 legs moved wildly in the air as he tried to get back up. Ambassador Quintar's blue lights started flashing so fast they looked like they might explode. All around the chamber, aliens were standing up and making sounds of fear and worry. Some were clicking their claws, others were hissing, and a few were making high-pitched whistles. The noise grew louder and louder until Morgeth had to bang his staff on the floor to make everyone quiet. Are you certain about this information? Morgeth asked. His purple face had turned almost white. The message came from Commander Jin Woo himself, just before he was captured. Yoon Hae said, The Valerians have taken our young. An alien called. Zekthar from the Reptilian Coalition stood up. He was big and green with sharp teeth, similar to the Valerians but from a different planet. Surely the Valerians do not understand what they have done. Someone must tell them immediately. It is too late for warnings, said a voice from the back of the chamber. Everyone turned to look. Dr. Han Sol, a human scientist who studied alien behavior, had been watching from the visitor section. Now she walked down to join Admiral Yoon Hae. Dr. Han Sol is correct, Yoon Hae said. The moment those children were taken, the Valerians declared war on the entire human species. They just do not know it yet. Morgeth leaned forward in his chair. Explain this to the Council, Admiral. Help them understand. Yoon Hae looked around the room at all the different alien faces. Some looked confused, others looked frightened. Most species in this galaxy fight for territory or resources, or power. Humans fight for those things too. But when human children are threatened, we become something completely different. She walked slowly around the chamber as she spoke. We evolved on a very dangerous planet. For millions of years, the only way human children could survive was if the entire group protected them. This behavior is built into our genes. It is not something we can control or change. Ambassador Quintar's lights stopped flashing. When he spoke, his electronic voice sounded worried. You are saying that all humans will respond to this threat. Not just respond, Dr. Han Sol said. Every human in the galaxy will drop whatever they are doing and focus on one thing, getting those children back and destroying anyone who hurt them. It does not matter if they know these particular children or not. The response will be automatic and overwhelming. Counselor Vexthul had finally gotten back on his seat. How many human ships are in this sector? Admiral Yoon Hae checked her tablet. At last count, 47 military vessels and over 200 civilian ships with military capability. The chamber became very quiet. Even the smallest human civilian ships carried weapons that could destroy most alien vessels. The idea of hundreds of human ships working together for one purpose was terrifying to think about. Can you call them off? Asked an alien from the Crystalline Federation. Can you tell them to stop? Yoon Hae shook her head. Even if I wanted to, I could not. By now, every human captain in 3 sectors has received the news. They are already moving toward Valerian space. Nothing can stop them now. Morgeth stood up from his chair. He looked very old and very tired. I must contact the Valerian High Command immediately. Perhaps we can convince them to return the children before this gets worse. It is already too late, Dr. Han Sol said sadly. The human response has begun. The Valerians can surrender the children and beg for mercy, but the response will continue until every human is satisfied that their children are safe and the threat is gone forever. An emergency alarm started ringing throughout the station. A voice came over the speakers. All civilian ships are advised to leave sectors 7, 8, and 9 immediately. Human military vessels are moving through the area in large numbers. Through the clear ceiling of the chamber, everyone could see lights moving in the distance. Human ships were arriving at the station, but they were not stopping. They were just passing through on their way to hunt down the Valerians. "How long do you think it will take?" Morgeth asked quietly. Admiral Yunhai looked up at the ships passing overhead. "The Valerians have maybe 2 days before the first. Human battle groups reach their territory. After that—" She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. The council meeting ended with aliens rushing back to their ships to warn their own people to stay away from the coming battle. The galaxy was about to see what happened when someone threatened human children. And in the distance, getting closer every hour, hundreds of human ships moved through space like a pack of hunting wolves, following the trail toward 3 small children who needed to be saved. Admiral Choi Min-ho was eating dinner with his officers when the message arrived. He was on the bridge of the huge warship called Indomitable, the biggest and most powerful ship in the human fleet. The ship was so large that it had its own parks and schools inside. Min-ho had been a soldier for 25 years, and he had never lost a battle. When his communication officer handed him the emergency message, Min-ho read it twice. Then he slowly put down his fork and stood up. Every person on the bridge could see the change in his face. His eyes became cold and hard like ice. "All stop," he said quietly. "Sound general quarters. Contact every human ship within 50 light years. Tell them we have a code red child situation." The bridge became very busy very quickly. Officers ran to their stations and started sending messages to ships all across the galaxy. Red lights flashed and alarms rang throughout the massive ship. Within 10 minutes, every person on the Indomitable knew what had happened. Code Red Child was the most serious emergency signal in the human military. It meant that human children were in danger, and every ship that could fight was needed immediately. No human captain had ever ignored a Code Red Child signal. No human captain ever would. Captain Nam Ji-yoon received the message while her stealth ship Shadow Walker was hidden in an asteroid field. She was a small woman with quick hands and sharp eyes. Her ship was built to sneak up on enemies without being seen. When she read about the captured children, she felt a cold anger growing in her chest. "Plot a course for Valerian space," she told her crew. "Maximum speed." "Captain, we are supposed to wait for orders from Fleet Command," her first officer said. "Nam." Ji-yoon looked at him with eyes like steel. "Those are children, Lieutenant. Human children. Plot the course now." Similar scenes were happening on ships throughout the sector. Captain Park Hyun was commanding the heavy cruiser Iron Storm when the message came. His ship carried the biggest guns in the human fleet. When he learned about the kidnapped children, he ordered his crew to prepare for battle immediately. "Load all weapons," he told his gunner. "Check every system twice. We are going hunting." Commander Bae Soo-jin was the communications officer on Admiral Min-ho's ship. She was very good at intercepting alien messages and understanding what they meant. As the human fleet began to move, she started listening to Valerian radio signals. First, the Valerian messages were normal. Ship captains talked about trade routes and patrol schedules. But as hours passed, the messages began to change. Valerian ships started reporting strange contacts on their sensors. Some ships simply stopped, transmitting altogether. "Admiral," Bae Soo-jin said, "I am picking up panic in the Valerian communications. They know something is wrong, but they do not understand what is happening." Admiral Min-ho nodded. "Show me the fleet status." On the main screen, dozens of green dots appeared. Each dot was a human ship racing toward Valerian space. More dots appeared every few minutes as ships from farther away received the message and joined the hunt. 43 ships confirmed, reported the tactical officer. More are coming from sectors 12 and 15. "Any word from the Valerians about releasing the children?" Min-ho asked. "No, sir. Our intelligence suggests they do not even realize they have made a mistake." Dr. C.O. June was the fleet's expert on alien psychology. He was a quiet man who spent most of his time studying how different species thought and behaved. He had been working with the alien liaison officer, a friendly creature called Glimtar from the Peaceful Traders Guild. Dr. C.O., Glimtar said nervously, "My people are very worried. They have never seen humans behave like this. Can you explain? What is happening?" Dr. Seo looked up from his computer. "Humans evolved on Earth, which was a very dangerous planet. For millions of years, our ancestors had to protect their children from large predators, natural disasters, and other threats. The ones who survived were the ones who would do anything to keep their young safe." "But surely you can control these instincts?" Glimtar asked. "No," Dr. Seo said simply. "When human children are threatened, we stop being civilized. We become what we were before we had cities and technology. We become pack hunters, and we do not stop until the threat is completely eliminated." Glimtar's tentacles curled up with worry. "How far will the humans go?" "As far as necessary," Dr. Seo replied. "If the Valerians release the children now and surrender, some of them might survive. If they fight, or if they hurt those children—" He did not finish the sentence. Meanwhile, in Valerian space, Captain Thexara was beginning to realize that something was wrong. His ship had detected strange signals on the edge of their territory. When he tried to contact other Valerian vessels, some of them did not answer. "Science Officer Kethmore," he called. "What is the status of our prisoners?" Kethmore checked his instruments. "The human young appear to be healthy. They are quiet and seem frightened, which is normal for their species. The adult male is still unconscious from the gas." "Good. Continue with the preparations for transport to the research facility." But Captain Thexara felt uneasy. In the past hour, 3 Valerian patrol ships had failed to report in. That was unusual. He decided to send a message to Valerian High Command, asking if there were any threats in the area. The answer he received made his blood run cold. Valerian Command reported that multiple unknown ships were moving toward their territory at high speed. The ships appeared to be military vessels, but they were not responding to communication attempts. "Unknown ships approaching Vector 7, his sensor officer reported. "They are moving very fast and do not match any known configurations in our database." Captain Thexara stared at his screen. Dozens of ships were visible now, and more appeared. Every few minutes. They moved in perfect formation, like a school of deadly fish swimming through space. "Try to contact them," he ordered. The communication officer worked at his station for several minutes. Finally, he looked up with confusion on his face. "Captain, they are not responding to any of our signals. It is as if they cannot hear us, or they simply do not care what we have to say." For the first time since capturing the human transport, Captain Thexara felt afraid. He had captured what he thought were helpless prisoners. But now it seemed like he had awakened something terrible. Captain Namji-un's stealth ship was the first to reach Valerian space. She moved through the asteroid fields like a ghost, watching and listening. When she spotted a Valerian patrol ship, she followed it quietly. The Valerian ship was heading toward a space station. Namji-un studied the station through her telescope and smiled coldly. It was full of Valerian military ships and weapons. Perfect. She sent a coded message back to the human fleet. "Target located. Multiple hostiles present. Recommend immediate assault." Admiral Minho received the message and felt a grim satisfaction. The hunt was about to begin in earnest. "All ships," he broadcast to the fleet. "We have located Valerian military assets. Remember, our mission is to recover 3 human children and eliminate the threat to human civilians. Show no mercy to anyone who stands in our way." Throughout the human fleet, weapons were charged and targeting systems were activated. The Valerians had made the worst mistake possible. They had threatened human children, and now they would learn why that was never ever done. The galaxy was about to witness the fury of humanity unleashed. General Ko Sung arrived with 47 ships just as the sun was rising over the Valerian home world. His fleet was the largest gathering of human warships anyone had ever seen. The three biggest ships were called dreadnoughts, and each one was the size of a small city. Their weapons could destroy entire space stations with a single shot. Ko Sung was an old soldier with gray hair and many scars. He had fought in wars across the galaxy, but he had never been as angry as he was today. When he looked at the Valerian, ships defending their home system, his eyes were cold as winter ice. "All ships, this is General Ko Sung," he said into his communication device. "Today we show the galaxy what happens when someone takes our children. No mercy, no prisoners, bring our young ones home." The battle began immediately. Human ships moved like wolves attacking a herd of frightened animals. The Valerians had more ships, but they were not prepared for the fury of the human attack. Captain Im Da-un commanded a ship called Stormbreaker. She was known throughout the fleet as the best boarding specialist in the human military. When enemy ships were too strong to destroy, she would take her soldiers inside and capture them from within. "Prepare boarding teams," she told her crew. "We need to search every Valerian ship until we find those children." Her ship moved close to a Valerian cruiser and attached itself with metal claws. Da-yun put on her combat armor and checked her weapons. Behind her, 20 human soldiers did the same. They all had the same look in their eyes, the look of parents protecting their young. The airlock opened with a loud bang. Da-yun and her soldiers rushed into the Valerian ship like a flood of destruction. The Valerian defenders were skilled fighters, but they had never faced humans who were protecting children. The battle was over in minutes. "Ship secured," Da-un reported. "No human prisoners found. Moving to next target." The same scene was happening all over the battlefield. Human soldiers cut through Valerian defenses like they were made of paper. Every Valerian ship was boarded and searched. When no children were found, the ships were destroyed or captured. On the Valerian command ship, Captain Thex Ara watched his fleet being torn apart. Half of his ships were already gone, and the humans showed no signs of slowing down. He had never seen anything like this. The humans fought with a coordination and fury that seemed impossible. "Why are they doing this?" he asked his science officer. "It is just 3 small prisoners. Why would they send so many ships?" Kethmore was shaking with fear. "I have been studying the data we collected about human behavior. Captain, I think we have made a terrible mistake. Humans do not see their young as we do. To them, every human child is precious beyond measure." Captain Thexara felt sick. "You mean they are fighting this hard for 3 children they do not even know?" "Yes, Captain. And I do not think they will stop until they have destroyed us all." Deep in the ship's prison section, Commander Jin Woo was finally waking up. The gas the Valerians had used was wearing off, and his head was becoming clear. He could hear the sounds of battle, explosions, alarms, and the vibration of weapons hitting the ship. Jin Woo smiled grimly. He recognized those sounds. Human weapons had a particular noise when they fired. The cavalry had arrived. In the cell next, to him, the 3 children were awake and alert. They had been listening to everything that happened around them for the past 2 days. Park So-ra had been counting the guard rotations and mapping the ship in her head. Kim Dae had been watching how the door locks worked. Lee Chan had been studying the air vents and electrical systems. "Commander Jin Woo," So-ra whispered, "are those our ships?" Jin Woo nodded. "Yes, children, help is here." "What should we do?" Kim Dae asked. Jin Woo looked around their prison cell. The lock was electronic, and the guards had been getting more nervous as the battle continued. "When the next explosion happens, I want you all to get ready to run. Can you do that?" All 3 children nodded. They were scared, but they had been brave for 2 days. They could be brave a little longer. The next explosion was so close that the lights went out for several seconds. In the darkness, Jin Woo heard the sound of their cell door opening. When the emergency lights came on, he saw that one of the children had somehow unlocked it. "How did you do that?" he asked in amazement. Lee Chan held up a small piece of metal. "I found this yesterday and figured out how the lock works. I have been practicing when the guards were not looking." Jin Woo stared at the 6-year-old boy. "You learned to pick locks in 2 days?" "It was not very hard," Lee Chan said matter-of-factly. "The Valerian technology is pretty simple." They crept through the corridors of the ship. Sora led the way, because she had memorized the layout. Kim Dae watched for guards. Lee Chan looked for ways to disable ship systems as they passed. When they reached the bridge, they found Captain Thexara and his crew in panic. Half the control panels were sparking from battle damage. Valerian officers were shouting orders and running around in confusion. "We need to surrender," one officer was saying. "The human ships are destroying everything. We cannot win this battle." "Surrender to humans?" Captain Thexara snarled. "Never! We are the superior race. We will fight to the last ship." That was when Commander Jin Woo stepped onto the bridge, followed by 3 small human children. The bridge became completely silent. Every Valerian stared at the humans they had captured, but instead of looking like helpless prisoners, the humans looked calm and confident. "Captain Thexara," Jin Woo said politely, "I believe you have something that belongs to us." Captain Thexara reached for his weapon, but Kim Dae had already disabled the ship's weapon systems. Sora had found the communication controls and was sending a signal to the human fleet. Lee Chan had somehow managed to lock down all the ship's computers. "How?" Captain Thexara whispered. "You are just children. You should be weak and helpless." Park. Sora looked up at the alien captain with her 9-year-old eyes. "We are human children," she said simply. "We are never helpless." Outside the ship, General Ko Sung received the signal from the Valerian command vessel. "This is Commander Jin Woo. Package is secure. Repeat, all packages are secure and safe." Ko Sung felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The children were alive and well. But the battle was not over yet. "All ships," he broadcast. "The children have been recovered. Continue the assault until all Valerian military assets are neutralized. Make sure this never happens again." Captain Thexara collapsed into his command chair. Around him, his officers were surrendering one by one. Through the bridge windows, he could see human ships systematically destroying what remained of the Valerian fleet. "We surrender," he said quietly. "Please, we surrender." Commander Jin Woo looked at the alien who had captured him and the children. "The decision to accept your surrender is not mine to make. That will be up to the Admiral." On the main human fleet flagship, General Ko Sung considered the surrender request. He looked at the tactical display showing the destroyed Valerian ships and the few that remained. "Tell Captain Thexara that we will accept the surrender of any Valerian who lays down their weapons immediately," he said. "But this incident will not be forgotten. The galaxy must know what happens when human children are threatened." The battle was over, but the consequences were just beginning. The Valerian Empire had learned a lesson they would never forget. And every other species in the galaxy was watching, taking notes, and updating their policies about humans. Never threaten human children. Never. 3 weeks after the battle, representatives from across the galaxy gathered at Harmony Point Station for an emergency meeting. The Great Council chamber had never been so full. Every species that had ever met humans wanted to understand what had happened in Valerian space. Ambassador Lee Yu-na walked into the chamber with Kim Dae, Park So-ra, and Lee Chan beside her. The 3 children wore their best clothes and looked around at all the strange alien faces with curiosity instead of fear. They had become famous throughout the galaxy as the children who had started the greatest military response in known history. Yu-na was a calm woman with intelligent eyes. She had been chosen to speak for humanity because she was good at explaining human behavior to aliens who did not understand it. As she walked to the speaker's platform, the entire chamber became silent. "Honored representatives," she began, "we are here today because 3 human children were taken from their family and threatened with harm. What followed was not a war of conquest or revenge. It was the natural response of our species to a threat against our young." In the front row, Regent Morketh sat with the few remaining Valerian leaders. Captain Thek's Ara was dead, killed when his ship was destroyed in the battle. Morketh had taken control of what was left of the Valerian Empire, and his first act had been to formally surrender to humanity. The Valerian Empire had lost 80% of their military ships. Their space stations were destroyed or captured. Thousands of Valerian soldiers were prisoners of war, all because they had captured 3 small human children. "We accept full responsibility for this disaster," Morketh said when his turn came to speak. "We did not understand human protective instincts. We thought we were capturing weak prisoners for study. Instead, we awakened the fury of an entire species." Admiral Yunhai stood up from her seat. The human response was automatic and unstoppable. Every human captain who could reach the battle zone did so. They came from mining colonies, trade routes, and exploration missions. They left their jobs and their families to protect children they had never met. Counselor Vex Thol from the Arachnid Hegemony raised one of his 8 legs. "Admiral, how can we prevent such incidents in the future? My people are traders, and we often encounter human vessels. We need to understand your behavioral patterns." Dr. Han Sol stepped forward. She had been studying the psychological data from the crisis. "The solution is simple," she said. "Never threaten human children. Never capture them. Never harm them. Never use them as hostages or bargaining tools. If you do, you will face the combined might of every human in the galaxy." An alien from the Crystal Federation asked, "What if there is an accident? What if human young are harmed by mistake?" "Context matters," Dr. Han Sol replied. "If you accidentally harm a human child and immediately provide medical aid and contact human authorities, the response will be much different. But deliberate capture or harm will always result in total war." Ambassador Quintar's lights flashed as he spoke. "Dr. Han Sol, our species finds this behavior fascinating from a scientific perspective. Can you explain why human protective instincts are so much stronger than those of other species?" Dr. Han Sol smiled and gestured to the 3 children standing beside Ambassador Yuna. "Look at them. Kim Dae, So-Ra, and Li Chan. During their captivity, they were not passive victims. They studied their captors, learned their technology, and helped plan their own rescue." She walked over to Li Chan and put her hand on his shoulder. "This 6-year-old boy learned to pick electronic locks in 2 days. So-Ra memorized the entire layout of an alien starship. Kim Dae figured out how to disable weapon systems. They did this while pretending to be helpless and frightened." The chamber filled with surprised murmurs. Many aliens had assumed human children were weak and defenseless. "Human young are not just precious to us because of emotional bonds," Dr. Han Sol continued. "They represent the future of our species, and they are already showing the intelligence and adaptability that made humans successful. When you threaten them, you are threatening the continuation of humanity itself." Morgeth, the old Zelian leader, stood up slowly. "The Galactic Council must establish new protocols. We propose the creation of the Terran Doctrine." He activated a holographic display that showed a formal document. "The Terran Doctrine states that any action taken against human civilians, especially children, will be considered an act of war against the entire human species. All member species of the Galactic Council agree to prevent such incidents and to warn others of the consequences." One by one, representatives from dozens of species stood to approve the doctrine. The vote was unanimous. Ambassador Yuna looked around the chamber. "Humanity does not want to be feared. We want to be friends and partners with all species, but we also want it to be very clear that our children are protected by the combined strength of our entire civilization." Kim Dae stepped forward and spoke in his clear 7-year-old voice. "We are not angry with the aliens who captured us. They did not know better. But now everyone knows, so it will never happen again, right?" The innocence in his question made many aliens uncomfortable. This small child was asking for a promise that the galaxy would protect human young from harm. How could anyone refuse? "That is correct, young Kim Dae," Morgoth said solemnly. "It will never happen again." After the formal meeting ended, smaller groups of aliens gathered to discuss what they had learned. The Peaceful Traders Guild met with human merchants to establish new safety protocols. Military alliances updated their rules of engagement to specifically protect human civilians. Captain Nam Ji-un, whose stealth ship had been the first to find the Valerian fleet, was awarded the highest medal in the human military. Captain Park Hyun and Captain Im Da-un received similar honors. But they all said the same thing. They were just doing what any human would do when children were in danger. General Ko Sung met with the remaining Valerian commanders to discuss the terms of their surrender. The Valerians would pay reparations to the families of the captured children. They would also provide detailed information about their military capabilities to ensure they could never threaten humans again. "You destroyed our empire for 3 small prisoners," one Valerian officer said bitterly. General Ko Sung looked at him calmly. "No, you destroyed your empire when you chose to threaten our young. We just responded the way any human would respond." Dr. Seo Jun published a research paper about the crisis that became required reading for all alien diplomats. The paper explained that human protective behavior was not aggression or violence, it was love expressed through action. Humans would go to any length to protect their children because that was how their species had survived for millions of years. Commander Jin Woo returned to his job as a transport pilot, but now he carried a special certificate that identified him as a protector of human young. Any ship captain in the galaxy would give him priority passage and military escort if needed. Kim Dae, Park So-ra, and Lee Chan returned to their parents. At the research station, the station was now heavily defended by both human and alien ships. The children were treated as heroes, but they just wanted to go back to playing with their toys and studying their lessons. "Will this really make sure no other children get hurt?" So-ra asked her mother one evening. Her mother hugged her tightly. "Yes, sweetheart. Every alien in the galaxy knows now that human children are protected by all of humanity. You 3 helped create a safer universe for all human families." The Terran Doctrine was carved into the walls of every major space station in the galaxy. It was translated into hundreds of alien languages. Young aliens learned about it in school. It became one of the most important laws of interstellar civilization. The message was simple and clear. Human children are protected by the combined might of their entire species. Threaten them at your own peril. Years later, when historians wrote about this time, they called it the Children's War, the shortest and most decisive conflict in galactic history. 3 small children had been captured, and within days, an entire empire had fallen. But humans preferred to call it something else. The day the galaxy learned that love could be the most powerful force in the universe, especially when that love was for children who needed protection. The 3 children grew up knowing they were safe, not just because their parents loved them, but because an entire species had proven they would cross the galaxy to bring them home. And in the depths of space, on ships and stations throughout the galaxy, a new saying became popular among alien crews. They are just children, but they are human children. Touch them and face the storm.